Hello, Professor Sargent here with you again. And in this set of videos, we're going to be looking at interval notation and solving linear inequalities. Now, I don't normally use for my examples directly from the online homework system that goes along with the class that I'm teaching, but in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do that. With interval notation, when you see an or equal to, then when you write interval notation, that turns into what I call a square bracket. It's not rounded like a parenthesis, it is squared. Now, furthermore, an interval is a continuous piece of the real number line with infinitely many numbers. Besides including the 0, the 3, the typical numbers that you think in between, such as 0, 1, 2, 3, there are all sorts of other numbers like 0.5 or 0.0001 or 2.999999999, etc. So to express this in interval notation, as I mentioned, square bracket. If you don't know where it is on your keyboard, it is probably towards the upper right, nearby the Enter key, and probably below the top row with digits. So 0, a comma, 3, nothing about the variable at all. It could be any variable name. And then I've got the square brackets around it because both 0 and 3 had the or equal to bars. Then they want a graph to go along with that. And in fact, I think it makes sense to try to do this first before doing interval notation. So when you see this, writing it out on paper, you might want to do the graph first so that you can figure out the interval notation. All right. So we're talking about everything between 0 and 3 and the fact that they are included. Notice how the graphs have the square brackets, just like we see in the interval notation. Then here we've got multiple choice. We've got an or equal to with the 5 as the left-hand endpoint. So that should be a square bracket, narrowing this down to either B or D, but there's no or equal to sign by the 7. And so when that is not included, because it's not included in the solution to that inequality because of the lack of that or equal to bar, in that case, we use the rounded parenthesis. And then for our graph, again, we're talking about everything that's between 5 and 7, which is represented in all 4 choices, but we're going to have a matchup between seeing the square bracket on the left and the parenthesis on the right. On this question, we're already given interval notation, and there is a finite number for the left-hand endpoints, but then it's going to keep on going to the right. When you write an interval notation, it's always left to right, least to greatest. So I could either say -2 is less than or equal to because of the square bracket, x, or on the other hand, x is greater than or equal to 2. Sorry, -2. So -2 less than or equal to x is the same thing as x greater than or equal to 2. And our graph, there are 2 of them that are showing things to the right, greater than -2, A and D, but only D has the square bracket because of the or equal to, by the -2.